platform, it was also on channels, when he was re-interviewed and pushed back by Mr. Chamberlain Uso, he repeated it. And he actually said that he ought to have been rewarded as a whistleblower rather than being chastised to have said such a thing. So for them, their perception of rigging is warped. It is thwarted. It is inexplicable to the average Nigerian. And that is why when the average Nigerian knows that this is already predetermined, the politicians are recycling themselves and choosing themselves, why are you telling me to just come and participate ceremonially in a process that you have already practically decided?
So if they have this mindset that it's already been predetermined or it's written down in some governor's office, how come this same enthusiasm or this same conviction does not follow them to the bigger elections, the general elections?
Ordinarily, it does. But for the last election, voter apathy was at an all-time low because the people they just had some strange form of hope. And of course, it showed everywhere. People were traveling into the country just to come and exercise their franchise. People were traveling from various cities back to their localities just to go and exercise their franchise. So ordinarily, it does too. But this past election, the 2023 election, was just an outlier generally, in a manner of speaking. And I pray that the enthusiasm continues into subsequent elections, because I pray that Nigerians don't say, oh, because of how past elections have gone, including the one that they had the highest hope for, that because it went awry, that they may now want to participate in future elections. I just pray that they do not resign into their they don't maintain a to your tent, O Israel attitude.
So what's the key to getting the youth, the voters, more interested in grassroots politics, the one that actually affects them? It's your local government that has the power to change certain things, like healthcare, for example. I go to the local government primary healthcare. Yeah, so that's something that affects me personally. So how come we are not as interested? What's the solution? Okay,
some of the major reasons why we are not is because of what I've highlighted earlier. But some of the solutions are what you and I are doing now. We are saying that there's something called a local government election. We can't keep having a situation where you know the name of the president, you know the name of the governor, but the name of the local government chairman or whatever the head of the title is in various places, you are aloof to that. It is all wrong, and the consequences are around and everywhere. And I also encourage civil societies. They cannot give up. And people like us, if we get platforms, we'll also keep saying it, that we cannot leave power to shenanigans. The day we leave power to shenanigans, we will keep facing the consequences. There was a philosopher that said that whether he participates in a political, it's only a fool that says he's not going to participate in politics, because your non-participation is actually a decision, and you are responsible for the prostitutes, the orphan, and bad roads and bad electricity, bad hospitals and all. So it behoves on us as citizens of our country, as civic, to observe our civic responsibilities to the hilt. And one of them, in fact, one of the chief of them, is exercising your right to vote. And not just exercising the right to vote, especially because of the uniqueness of our country, we must ensure that as much as possible, we watch the voting process from the beginning to the end. Yes, there will be some shenanigans, but there are times when they can't get away with it, especially when all Nigerians, or most Nigerians, decide that we want this one to count. We want this particular vote to count. If they follow the process from the beginning to the end, at some point, we will beat the politicians to it.
But And this brings the question of sensitization. Do we know the candidates, for example? Do we know the importance of the local government elections, or the role that the local government plays? Or do we all just think everything starts and ends on the president's table?
Okay, for me, I feel that one of the places where it becomes very difficult for Nigerians is, let's even look at the Rivers State election, local government election that just passed. The mode of bringing up the people who won the primaries, in a manner of speaking, was also almost a largest sharing exercise. It was give me the structure, I want the political structure, and one leader or two leaders deciding who and who will emerge as the leader or as the winner of each primaries. So those are some of the challenges. And when you force a fait accompli on me as a citizen, you force a particular candidate on me as a citizen, it's not a candidate of my choosing, there's no internal democracy that brought him up at all. I don't have any input into his emergence, and I know that his loyalty will eventually not be to me. Why will I even bother to come out? So that's why, as much as possible, as citizens, we must participate in political parties, because our constitution has said that without a political party, nobody can emerge as the winner of any, nobody can hold any political post, especially the elective ones. So because of that, Nigerian citizens must participate from the grassroots to the primary level and even to the ultimate election.
Now let's move to the security situation. It almost seems like every week, every month, there's one kidnapping or the other. I don't know if Nigerians are getting used to it, that, you know, this is what it has become normal. And one would expect by now that heads will roll, there'll be decisive action from the government, and some of these kidnappers will be unmasked. People will know them. They'll be brought to book. But instead, it just seems like we're just having these conversations. And I really wonder, like, when does this change? When does this narrative of terrorism, of kidnapping come to an end? Are we safe in this country?
Ms. Abella, I also share your optimism. I'm praying that at some point it should come to an end. While growing up, we used to see it at the tail of every news bulletin that somewhere in Afghanistan, somewhere in Iraq, this thing is happening. And to us, it's anathema. It's something that we couldn't even fathom at all. But somehow, somewhere, 2008 started creeping in until we practically have become, unfortunately, I must say, we are now desensitized to it largely. But we have to keep it back on the front burner to ensure that the fact that we are desensitized is not normal. We should not, under any guise, normalize it. We have heard the figures, and the figures are almost nothing against us. So I feel that as much as possible, under no condition should we be forced to lose our humanity, because the persons who are put in charge of the security of lives and property, pursuant to Section 14 and Section 130 of our Constitution. By 130, I'm talking about the role of the President as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Of course, we have Section 214 that talks about the Nigerian Police, Section 215, Nigerian Police, Section 217, the Nigerian military, and all the other accompanying agencies. They have, as far as I'm concerned, they have failed in their roles. That is why we have arrived, unfortunately, here, and it looks like it's not getting better. As a person, too, at some point, I was affected, even though not directly. My own uncle, too, was a victim of kidnapping in Nigeria, so it hit home. I understand it when I say it. So as much as possible, the people that are in charge of leading this country should not now leave themselves. We should not exclusively, because what Leonard, my ancestor-in-law, Michael Zekumen, said at the just concluded NBA conference is that the security that we have now is not security for the Nigerian people, it's security for the government. So it's all shades of that. He's to a large extent right, because if we even check the policing, what's the fraction of the police to the average Nigerian compared to the horde of police officers that we see that follow state functionaries? So these are some of the things that we must relook into. If we have to recruit more, let's recruit more. And we can't keep having a situation where an IG of police, one of the first announcements a new IG of police makes in this country is that they are withdrawing police officers that are guarding all PDPs. They give the directive, and if the next IGP of police comes in and gives the same directive, it shows to me that the former directive that was given by the SY IG was not observed at all. So these are some of the things that we have to look into. We must commit the political will to it. We must commit the resources to it in order for Nigerians to be the beneficiaries of the services that they elected the leaders for.
And some people see kidnapping as a business. I mean, you shared something that hit home, and a lot of times it's kidnapping for ransom. I mean, in some cases it's to destabilize the community and to destabilize the government, is to put fear in the people, like what we've seen in Zamfara. But now let's look at it from kidnapping for ransom. Is that now the business of the day in Nigeria? And how can this also be tackled?
Okay, for me, I think that to a large extent, I'm reluctant to say that, yes, it has become a business, because when things are tough, sometimes it is the excuse that people use to go into drug peddling, and just mention all the crimes. And unfortunately, kidnapping too is gradually climbing up the list. And I feel very, very sad that is the situation as we have it. So I feel that one of the things that can majorly be done is for our security agencies to become more alive to their responsibilities and reduce the concentration on politicians. That's for the kinetic side. The non-kinetic side, we also have the intelligence-driven protection. They can infiltrate some of these organizations. I'm very, very happy that I think there was reportage about 2 weeks ago that one of the Lakurawa, one of the insecurity promoting organizations in Kwara State, Ilorin, was arrested without one fire shot. So things like that, news like that too, will put us in a better place as a country. So I feel that government should be more alive to their responsibilities. Once they are more alive to their responsibilities, it will naturally diminish. And young Nigerians should always remember that we should not say life is hard is an excuse to indulge in criminality. And the long arm of the law will eventually reach them and overtake them. And karma too, it doesn't have to be the law. Somehow, nature has a way of balancing itself. It's called circle of life.
And you know, this conversation won't be complete without even looking at sometimes when people cry wolf, whether it's in form of attention seeking. We had on a live stream of popular social media influencer, TikToker Pella, where it was announced that he had been kidnapped, and the police is saying no, they're not aware of any such thing. Now, what message does that send to the importance or the seriousness of this issue when something like that can be almost trivialized?
Oh, it's hard for me. I think it's insensitive to joke with something like that, even though comedy by its very nature, I've come to know that comedy by its very nature is sometimes intrusive and can be offensive. So I must admit that, not just in our country, but just mention it in other countries. They didn't see Donald Trump for 2 days in public. People have started tweeting, he's dead, and things like that. So to a large extent, freedom of expression and comedy can be very, very intrusive. But I solidly advise that persons who have been given positions of responsibility, like influencers, celebrities, or any other person that has a platform where they impact a lot of lives or impact a lot of.
I mean, this is a live stream that is viewed globally. So this is not just in your room, 10 people watching it. It's people forming opinions about the safety of Nigeria.
And they are scared. And it's affecting them.
And then how can this be deterred? What does the law say? Like, can you just cry wolf and say, oh, I'm being kidnapped on a live stream, and then everybody says, oh, we're just joking, and it's all vibes and laughter? I
think it's greatly irresponsible. Why I'm trying to draw a fine, why I'm trying to walk a tightrope here is because there's a difference between if you are joking about something and if you actually arrange a false kidnap. The arrangement of false kidnap is a criminal offense. And of course, kidnapping by itself, depending on what state in Nigeria, because kidnapping largely is a state offense, just like murder. It's not a federal offense, it's a state offense. So once a person is kidnapped, it now depends on the state. For some states, if a person dies in detention, then the person will get a death sentence. The defendant will most likely get a death sentence. But if a person does not die in detention and the person is eventually released, for some states, it's still a death sentence, while in some other states, like Lagos State, it is life imprisonment. But if a person arranges for his own kidnap, arranges a actual fake kidnap, then what the law says is that the person, especially in Lagos, the person will suffer a 15-year imprisonment. And I commend you to a live example of what happened in 2017 in a road not too far from here, CMD Road. The king of the Baale of Shangisha was arranged for his own kidnap, maybe because he said he was looking for resources. He wanted to blackmail the government. So what happened in that case was that he was convicted and sentenced to 15 years imprisonment.
So because he planned his own kidnap.
Because he planned his
so
own
that
kidnap.
is 15 years.
It's 15 years. But he appealed it, and at the Court of Appeal level, his sentence was commuted to 12. It was reduced to 12 years.
But what does that say to the young people who are saying, you know what, I can plan my
A lot of
kidnap,
people are
make
doing
10
it.
billion, and then I just do 12 months.
No, it's 12 years.
12 years. But
years.
it can be reduced, it can be committed. That's what you just said.
Yeah. It can be reduced by an appellate court if they feel that it is excessive.
So what can the government do to sensitize people to say, look, if you plan your own kidnap, you will make the money, but you are going to
It's happening every day, actually, Isabella. I'm a lawyer, so it's something I see. Some of them make reportage, and a lot of them don't make reportage. Just like a lot of crimes don't make reportage. We live in the courts. So what will happen is Nigerian government, of course, the National Orientation Agency, which to my mind they are doing a bit better than the other former national orientation agencies that we used to have. They can also make this a topical topic and actually canvass it and match it to the average Nigerian. Especially this is prevalent among boyfriend and girlfriend, two people.
So they just plan.
They just plan it, yes.
And then they dupe people, raise money.
It is almost, and maybe that was why Pella felt, okay, he could also do something like this. And I feel that it is irresponsible on his side. It is unethical on his side. And at some point, too, we must also now try to bring up maybe a few regulations to ensure that people who have platforms like that, celebrities, influencers, they don't abuse those privileges. They don't cross into the line of practically endangering people. But if it is that he actually lied to the police officers or lied to law enforcement that he was actually kidnapped, then we know that we already know one of the consequences. And some other consequences too that comes with lying to law enforcement and things like that. And also perjury at some point along the line. So they can be held liable for those.
And my final question will be to those brazen people who don't feel any form of fear. They go on live, they go on social media, that they're displaying bundles of money as their bounty from the proceeds from kidnapping. What's the government doing? Can they track them? Can they arrest them? Can they bring them to book? Because they're encouraging it by showing, look, I've made all this money from kidnapping, nothing can happen to me.
Okay, for me, I think that is even very stupid. If you are a criminal, you're supposed to be discreet. You're supposed to be secretive. So they are practically adding to the exhibits that will be used against them in court. And
but is the government going after them?
It's a shame. That's why I'm hoping, I'm praying like you that our law enforcement are actually alive to their responsibilities. Because when they are alive to their responsibilities, these people will not dare it. I saw a situation like that too with the FBI in the US, and in a few moments the person was swooped upon. I pray and hope that Nigerian government too and law enforcement generally will be alive to their responsibilities and ensure that they make these people shows of shame and examples to discourage
deterrence.
Thank you very much for the loan of that word.
Amen. We can say amen to that prayer. Thank you very much,
You're
Justice
welcome.
Ejedo, for your contributions
It's
on
my pleasure.
Rubbin'minds.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll go on a quick break on Rubbin'minds. Please don't go anywhere. The show returns soon.
We represent